The following program is paid for by LMT Consulting, LLC, who is solely responsible for its content. Own Your Truth with life strategist Laura T. Real advice for regular people. Now, here's Laura.
Hello and welcome to Own Your Truth, where we're talking real advice for regular people. I'm Laura T. Thank you so much for listening. I know there's lots of ways you can spend your time, and I'm always grateful when you spend an hour with me each Sunday. So, if you listened to my last show about accidental practice, you know I mentioned I have been practicing the show the same way each week, and although it may help me get better at doing the show the same way, what I realize is it may not make for a better show. So tonight, I decided to mix things up a little bit. I have a very special guest in the studio. My daughter, Taylor T., is here to discuss youth and technology with me. Our original thought was to talk about leadership, but, in light of a few incidents in town over the past couple of months regarding youth, technology, and social media, I thought it was important to talk about technology, get a student perspective, and discuss the importance of parent involvement. And in the end, we're also going to explore ways for kids to use technology for their own good as well as the good of others. Well, before we begin to talk about tonight's topic, I would love for Taylor to tell the Own Your Truth listeners a little bit about herself. Go ahead, Taylor.
Hi, my name is Taylor, and I'm in high school. I am a sophomore. I do sports, art, and pretty much everything that the average kid does. But I also can talk about technology and social media, and it's all around us, and it's really relevant for kids my age, and yeah.
Awesome. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much. So I have to mention that Taylor is an avid listener and my most honest critic, as well as my greatest sounding board for ideas. So Taylor, honey, I'm super excited to have you in the studio tonight. So as we begin to explore the topic of youth and technology, I thought it was important to share some statistics with you. And Taylor's going to kind of weigh in on her thoughts about those statistics. The first statistic is according to the Pew Research Center's Teens, Social Media, and Technology 2018 study. 95% of teens now report they have a smartphone or access to one. These mobile connections are clearly fueling more persistent online activities, and as a result, 45% of teens now say they are online on a near constant basis. It's so fascinating because this number has doubled since Pew's last report in 2014 and 15. So that's the first of our statistics. The second one I wanted to share was kids and teens age 8 to 18 now spend an average of more than 7 hours a day looking at screens. By the way, the warning from the AHA recommends parents limit time for their kids to a maximum of just 2 hours a day. And for children ages 2 to 5, they recommend 1 hour or less. So listen, as a parent, I get it. It's easier said than done. And we're going to talk about this tonight and so much more over the next hour. Finally, the last piece of information I think that's important to share is according to the Association of Psychological Science, who reported on 2 nationally representative surveys in which they surveyed more than 500,000 U.S. adolescents in grades 8 through 12, showed adolescents' depressive symptoms, suicide-related outcomes, and suicide rates increased between 2010 and 2015, especially among females. Interestingly enough, they also discovered adolescents who spend more time on new media, that includes social media, electronic devices such as smartphones, were more likely to report mental health issues than adolescents who spent more time on non-screen activities, that being activities that were in person, social interactions, sports, etc. So in looking at these statistics, Taylor, what do you think about those numbers as a youth today faced with technology?
Well, I think it's really scary. For one thing, knowing that we all have to kind of revolve our lives around this thing that, you know, we don't really know much about except the pictures that we see of people and, you know, the best parts of their lives. They just post, you know, the good things. So it's like, what is really out there?
Yeah. Are you shocked by these numbers at all?
Well, yes and no. I feel like we've heard a lot about kids who get overthinking about what they show online, and, you know, something bad happens, and, you know, the suicide rates, we know about that, but it's also, to see the numbers in person is scary as well.
As a young person today, with access to this type of technology, do you ever think about the amount of time you spend on a device?
Yes, especially because you're always bugging me. But it's also tough with school, because it's like, oh, I'll only go 10 more minutes, and then it's 2 hours, and I still haven't started my essay. Mm-hmm. And it goes through your mind, but it kind of goes out, you know, in one ear, out the other, kind of, in a way, where you were thinking about it and just passes by when you're scrolling and scrolling.
What about that feeling of scrolling and flipping? I think you and I had talked, we had taken a flight on vacation, and I was sitting next to a gentleman who clearly was from Harvard, because he had all of his Harvard gear on, like Harvard lacrosse, and he flipped through his device so fast, it actually made me anxious. And I don't even know how he was looking at the different things. He was just flipping from one app to the next app. And any thoughts on that?
I feel like it's almost, there's probably a scientific, whoever created Instagram or whatever, I bet there's some kind of science behind it, which is that easy, you know, or the double tap to like, or the, you know, hearts and all those different things. There's got to be some kind of science to it, that there's definitely an addiction as well too, I think.
Well, we're going to look at a little bit of the science, right? Because we can only touch on a little bit of it, but very interesting to explore these topics. And like I said, so excited to have you here. So like with every show, I want to provide you, the listener, with information, and then support you with alternatives to create the life experience you want for you and your family. So this promises to be an informative show. And remember, the best part of my Sunday night is talking to you. Call in with your questions about youth and technology. As parents and students, we don't know the effects of today's technology on the future of our kids, which means none of us have the right answer. It's through education and communication that we get through this learning process together. So tonight you get two experts for the price of one. Taylor is totally an expert in being a teenager, and I'll provide you a coach's perspective. So what we usually do is wait for questions until the second half of the show. But tonight, call in at any time, because Taylor and I are really having a conversation, and we want you to be a part of it. So the phone number here is 203-333-WICC. That's 203-333-9422. Before we get into tonight's show, let's start well. What does that mean? It means you get more of what you focus on. So today and every Sunday, we start well with good news from around the neighborhood, across the state, and beyond. In this week's Own Your Truth Good News, Stanford teacher and Fairfield native Ben Schwartz made it to the semifinal round of Jeopardy! Teachers Tournament. How exciting. Schwartz is a Fairfield Ward High School graduate and teaches English at King's School and Stanford, and also works as a nonprofit Reach Prep. He started watching Jeopardy! When he was 8 years old with his grandmother and has been an avid fan ever since. So great job, Ben Schwartz. So happy you're a part of our community. Our next Own Your Truth Good News story happened Thursday when Joyce Lowenstein received her bachelor's degree from Georgia State University at the age of 93. Although Joyce's studies began in 1943, life happened. And after a 70-year hiatus, during which time she became a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and great-grandmother, and worked as an antique dealer and later interior designer, she decided in 2012 to finish her studies. So at the young age of 86, she enrolled at Georgia State to pursue an art history degree. Joyce completed her program in 7 years, overcoming ailments and battling memory loss along the way. None of that stopped this 93-year-old graduate from graduating with honors and a GPA above 4.0. Way to go, Joyce. What an inspiration and proof you are never too old. Our final story is a feel-good story out of Bridgeport, where teachers at Roosevelt School received 54 boxes of school supplies for their students in recognition of National Teacher Appreciation Day. All of this came from BIC. BIC's general manager, Mary Fox, said, "At BIC, we understand the importance of supporting our local communities, and one of our core values is a commitment to education. The opportunity to give back to the Roosevelt School and our support of programs like these are directly linked to the success we have achieved over the past 60 years." Approximately 280 BIC team members also wrote apple-shaped thank you notes to teachers who made a positive impact on their lives. It's awesome to see local companies giving back in a big way and appreciating those who give every day, our teachers. Although National Teacher Appreciation Day is past, it's so important to recognize all the special people who dedicate their lives to educating our kids. So thank you, teachers. That's this Sunday's Good News on Own Your Truth with Laura T. Each week, I'm reminded there's so many good deeds that go unnoticed and cool things happening around the community. If you have a good news about a local individual, organization, or business making a difference in the community, let me know. Visit the Own Your Truth Facebook page and listen every Sunday to hear your news announced on the show. So, after this brief commercial break, we're going to explore everything from what are the benefits of technology to maybe what's the negative impact of technology. We'll do that in just a minute. Welcome back. This is Own Your Truth with Laura T, and I am here with my special guest and daughter, Taylor T, having a conversation about youth and technology. Remember, you can call in at any time during the show tonight with your questions, comments, thoughts, and ideas. The number here is 203-333-WICC. Again, that number is 203-333-9422. Okay, so Taylor, let's dive in. So we started talking a little bit about technology, and I'd love to hear from a teenager's perspective. What are the benefits of technology for young people today?
Well, for starters, communication, is extremely important. I feel like you can connect with people, especially Facebook, people that you haven't seen in years that you would never really get to see. And I feel like that goes for anyone, not even just teenagers, people who, you went to college with or that you went to kindergarten with. I mean, everyone has one, so you can, search for anyone. And there's always those, really good examples of finding good news on the social media as well. Seeing something that just makes you smile, some cute dog or a really nice story or something like that, makes you happy.
Do you find a lot of good news on the internet?
I think the good news to bad news is 70 to 30, I feel like.
70 which way?
70 to 30. Bad news, 70.
70.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so how challenging it is for you to search out the good news?
To find it, I feel like if you go on New York Times, you'll find a lot of it has to do with politics, but you can scroll through and, you'll find something, but you don't have to dig, but it's still not, you do have to dig, which isn't great, but you shouldn't have to dig, so.
Okay, but it's out there. It's out there. Okay, great.
Is.
So you mentioned connections, you mentioned good news.
Yes.
What are some other positives that you can think of?
Well, not necessarily social media, but the internet helps you with school. I mean, I don't know.
Does it help you with accurate research?
Yes, and we learn in school not to trust Wikipedia. That's just a definite. But YouTube has pros and cons. But YouTube helps with math and chemistry and those things too.
That's a good point. I've watched you personally use YouTube a lot to help out with math. So I was reading an article that claimed some of the benefits they believed included things like creativity. Do you think that the internet helps you be more creative?
Well, we were talking about this before. I actually think the opposite, which is that when you're scrolling through your feed, you see everyone wearing the same things, doing the same things, and you almost become less creative because you're just following people. You want to be the same, you want to fit in, so you're going to wear the same clothes and do the same things, and I feel like it creates less creativity, and it causes people like celebrities to have more pressure to find new things for a lot of other people to, copy, I guess.
Now, so I know you're a photographer. How does the internet help with creativity with your photography?
Actually, yes. Going on, even Pinterest has like tons of really cool, photography ideas, and a lot of original pictures that it'll show. I feel like certain genres will have, especially music, social media will show tons of different, music and ideas.
Okay. So you agree with creativity. What about inspiration and support?
Inspiration, yes. There's a lot of like cooking, you can see like little cute baking ideas that make you, I can do that, DIYs, I'll be able to do that for sure. 10 minutes later, you're trying to make a DIY snowman and it collapses, something like that,
Are you bringing our real life here? We're big DIY people around the holidays.
That definitely happened to us.
And some of them go terribly wrong.
Yeah. And the other part was what?
Support. Inspiration and support.
Support, probably not. Because you get a lot of, friends asking friends, hey, like, comment on my recent or whatever, something like that, where all your friends are posting nice stuff, but there's still the negativity out there, especially for people who are in, the eye of, the population of our whatever.
The public.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they get a lot of backlash for the smallest things. And like we talk about later on, a lot of it is people who aren't so confident, who can backlash people online and they won't really get noticed for it. It's just a way to like let out anger, and people see those things and they think about it, daily, and they try to get over it, but it's hard to be in the public eye for sure.
Okay. So, and even going back to the creativity, I'm like, so you agree with creativity. What the listeners didn't hear is she put her hand out, was like,
Yeah.
So it's kind of
creativity
mixed.
Is so-so.
Is mixed.
And support
is not really.
Yeah.
Again, if the listeners could see your face, the face says not really while she's making cute sounds. Okay. What about, I found this one interesting, improved social skills.
Well, I don't know. This is just the first thing that comes to mind for me. For some reason, with teenagers, we always have to have, like, a dance. Like, I don't know. The newest thing is, like, hitting the whoa. Just, like, so through social media, you can see, like, what's popular when it comes to, like, handshakes or, dances. I don't know, something like that.
Okay.
So I guess that kind of improves things a bit. But when you're looking on your phone so much, it also causes you not to talk to the person next to you. And most likely, whenever you go on the train or you're waiting in line, you're going to see a person scrolling through Instagram instead of talking to the person in front of them, which I get it. You probably don't want to talk to a stranger, but you still want to look up and see, maybe there's a person driving that, might hit you. I don't know, something like that. Like, look up every once in a while and see what's around you.
Well, so it's interesting you bring up that, sitting on a bus and being near people.
Yeah.
I went to pick up my son, Taylor's brother, and 7 out of the 10 kids waiting outside the school were sitting faces down on their phones.
And those are kids.
I know, and they weren't talking to each other. And, just as a mom, but also as a human being, I felt so sad.
I know.
That people the kids weren't even talking
Especially
or playing or chasing
each
each
other too.
I know, and they do know each other.
Yeah.
All right, so we talked about some of the positives. What do you see are the negative impacts of technology?
I brought up a few of the negatives already. Obviously there are positives with social media, which is new ideas coming through, and definitely inspiration. But one negative that we'll probably talk about is the desensitization.
Big word. That's a great word.
Of a lot of topics from suicide to things that I feel like kids really shouldn't be seeing at such a young age, and there's a lot of stuff that I just feel like shouldn't be available for kids who have all these accounts, and there's stuff on there that shouldn't be on there that is. And even for adults, it's some of it can just be gruesome, and there's a whole world out there that we just don't really know about that
Right.
is hard for kids.
And, we've talked about that idea of once you see it, it can't be unseen.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing. When youth are Googling something, Google doesn't know that it's a bunch of 12-year-olds in the back of the bus versus it's, an adult looking for something inappropriate on purpose. And so, I know that in our house, we have a lot of conversations about that idea that once it's seen, it can't be unseen. To the point that we've even at one point in time set aside time that if you wanted to Google anything that could come up with something inappropriate, we would Google it together, and there would be no judgment, and there would be nothing said about it. Now, I will say before she jumps in, she did not take advantage of this opportunity.
I feel like it's also like ask mom. You don't need to Google.
No.
I could just ask you or dad or whatever about certain things. I feel like we've got that all figured out. But at the time when I was 12, I didn't know a lot. So.
Well, and that's having you here and having you say that was the biggest gift to me, that you feel like, I don't have to go to a stranger or look online. I can really just, ask my mom or my dad. That's a huge, huge gift to me.
Definitely.
So thank you. Any other negative impacts you see of technology on kids?
I think also the pressure to be good enough is another thing too, that can also relate to a lot of mental illness, which is just you see all of these pictures of these beautiful people and you just want to look like them. I hear so many people every day, oh, I wish I could be her. I'd give anything to look like her. That person is probably photoshopped, probably fake, probably not real. And so it's about appreciating your life too, and sure, post great pictures of where you go, but it's a lot of pressure too. And the other negative too that we have mentioned is the procrastination and the addiction, the amount of time you spend. Today I probably should have been studying for my math test, but I wasn't. I was looking at prom pictures and I was scrolling through, and it's hours and hours, and you don't really even watch the time go by. You just
Right. So
Oops,
it's time wasted, right?
Yes.
And you and I have talked about, there are two things you can never take back. You can never get back time. You can never take back your words.
Yeah.
Once they are given, they are gone forever.
And both of those have a huge effect on social media.
They do both have a huge impact on social media. You're absolutely right. So we talked about procrastination and desensitization and being good enough. How do you combat some of these things?
So it's kind of different for me because mom actually doesn't let me have a lot of social media. So I've got the little bit. And for me, I think the biggest thing is the procrastination. And that is where the parental controls come in, where it's the warning or the timer or whatever. Or even, I'm not very good at this, but I've been using this block site thing, which basically blocks sites. You can edit your list or whatever, but when I'm doing too much gaming or I'm on YouTube or whatever and I need to study and I'm going back and forth, I just block the site, done, cut it off, just forget about it.
So explaining to our listeners, you actually block your own websites.
Yes.
So I don't have to do it. It's actually something that you implement yourself.
Because it's so bad. It's really hard. It's really bad. And there was a point in time, this was 6th grade, where I had been first introduced to YouTube and, all this kind of stuff. We got our own computer, and I had actually C's and B's and kind of, at least for my standards, bad grades because I was focusing so much on the screen and I wasn't studying. And that was a big issue.
And at that point in time, she came to me and said, Mom, I actually need you to block these for me, which that self-awareness, I know that a lot of kids don't have that. It's something that really is special for you. But again, I think too, the prompting, I'm constantly going in and we're looking at time. How much time have you spent? Okay. What else do you have to do? Right. So I'm not always telling you to shut it down, although sometimes I do. I am often checking, and I act as your pattern interrupt, right?
Yes.
I want
Yeah.
to see, okay, do you consciously know how much time you're spending on this? How much time have you spent? How much time are you going to spend?
Right.
What else do you have to do? Are
Right.
sort of my key questions, right?
Right.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we are on to our musical artist of the week, and then we're going to come back and talk more about youth and technology. So I can't wait to share this really great artist with you. He is one of my favorite new artists, although he is far from new to the music scene. He's new to my regular playlist. Brian Jarvis is a Connecticut-based singer-songwriter who exemplifies a man living his dream and making it happen. I had the chance to hear Brian sing a couple of years ago, and his sound totally caught my attention. And then my husband and I saw him again a couple of weeks ago, and we were blown away by his new music and the song I'm about to play for you. His music speaks for itself, so without further ado, here is Spark by Brian Jarvis.
Sometimes talk about how we live our lives. Settle down now, watch the world go crazy. Still I don't know where this will go. Time slows down, now I know this life, it weighs on my mind. It's the part of my heart, it's not just broken or falling apart. The part of my heart, it's not just broken, it's missing the spark. The spark, it's just missing the spark. If I can find another light, tie a string, bring it back to life. These years are adding up like miles, so I don't know if it still shows. Another town, another show tonight. It's been missing all this time. It's the part of my heart, it's not just broken or falling apart. The part of my heart, it's not just broken, it's missing the spark. The spark, it's just missing the spark. Been walking this line for so many nights, but you never know that I tried to deny. Things are inside that I can't let go. It's the part of my heart, it's not just broken or falling apart. The part of my heart, it's not just broken, it's missing the spark. The spark, it's just missing the spark. Oh, it's just missing the spark. It's just missing the spark.
Oh, I love Brian's sound. If you love Brian as much as I do, you can catch him playing everywhere from Massachusetts to Michigan, and of course around Connecticut. I'll post a link to his website where you can buy this song, his entire new EP, Anyone at All, and check out his upcoming tour schedule. I'm thrilled the music recommendations keep coming in. Remember, if you or someone you know would like to hear your original music live on the show, I'll be featuring an artist each week. Send me a message on the Own Your Truth Facebook page because all original music is considered. Okay, so we are here talking about youth and technology. And for anyone who's just joining us, I am joined by my daughter, Taylor T. So let's talk about parental controls. I'm going to share some information I found. Internet Matters put out a report last year as part of their Safer Internet Day that showed 65% of young people aged 11 to 16 are in favor of parental controls, especially those put in place to stop them from viewing inappropriate adult content. Ironically, only 39% of parents set controls across their broadband or mobile network. 35% of parents set controls on devices their children use at home, and only 45% apply privacy settings to their child's social media. So, Taylor, what do you think about let's start off with parental controls. What do you think about parental controls?
Well, parental controls. Where do I begin? Okay, so parental controls obviously are very relevant to me. Mom uses them all the time. They're good and bad. I like them because although they're very annoying and they actually help a lot. And when it comes to the shutdown time, the new iPhone has this ability where you can not only time how much the kid has on the phone, but you can shut them down from 11 o'clock at night or whatever, and basically all the apps close, and it's genius on their part, but so it's good. It's good because, and I don't know how many parents are using it. I would assume, probably a lot.
I just gave statistics. Not
About
that many.
The Apple, really?
So that went across, and again, that was recent. It went across broadband in general.
Yeah.
So it didn't go, specific.
Because this new
provider.
Apple, it's pretty new, and it's pretty mainstream. But also, when the parents are given the choice to, put it on, the kid's gonna start yelling, and it's like, "No, why'd you do this, Mom? Like, come on!" And then the mom's like, "Oh, shoot, this is just gonna cause more problems. I'll just take it off." I don't know.
So what do you think about parents enforcing that? Now, I'm tougher
Yes.
than
you overcome me.
than most parents. But what do you think about parents giving in on stuff like this?
Honestly, I feel like it's hard, and I know that, especially me being so pushy. It's a lot, but it's really important that you make it clear to your kids that there's other things in life. And I'm just looking at a lot of the kids in my school who have so much potential, and there are other factors to this, but who aren't really getting good grades, who can get good grades. They're not trying, they're whatever, and not all of that has an effect of social media, but parents too should really be there and force that down. Not crazy force strict, where it's difficult to, but the idea that the enforcement is there and that it's also very relevant, every day. Consistent. That's the word.
Consistent. I knew what you were alluding
Consistent. That is the word.
So how did you feel today when I required you to get off your computer, leave your phone at home, and come walk downtown with us?
Okay, so I was fine with it, but I also had a math test to study for, which I wasn't studying earlier in the morning because I was on my computer. And so I
Being
guess
distracted, playing games.
At least my consequence was going outside. That's not terrible. But it was nice. I got a crepe and a smoothie, and we went to the Oyster Festival, and it was fun.
So I mention that because so often, again, it's about that enforcement, right? In that moment, there was such pushback actually from both children about not
Yes.
wanting to go,
My
not
brother
wanting
got
to walk
really mad.
downtown, not wanting to participate.
Yeah.
But then once we go, they have a good time.
I know.
And so as a parent, it's getting past that initial emotional response.
Yes.
One of the things that, hopefully we'll get to tonight is talking about the impact of on the brain. And, what we're not taught as parents is that the logical side of a kid's brain doesn't develop till they're in their mid-20s. So everything that they're saying, although may sound very logical, most often comes from an emotional place, especially when they want to push their point. And as teenagers, their brain's job right now is to push the point. And so I know that with both kids, because I've got 13 and 15, they are, I'm learning lots of patience because they are both pushing the point. But ultimately, as the parent, they have to do what I've asked them to. And so, again, I'm forcing them to get outside, which whenever they do it, they appreciate it. But sometimes they need that extra push. So why do you think, what's the biggest reason you think kids don't want parental controls?
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Well, for starters, there's the addiction, but it's like that idea that something's being taken away from you. Like I don't even know what to call it, but like, I don't know, like a mother's baby. I don't even know, but it's where it's being taken away. It's like all your power and it's just being snatched away, and you can get really angry. I remember the first day you put on my parental controls, and I had already used the 2 hours, and I was so mad. I just got so mad because for me, getting older, I'd figure, I'd have more freedom, but I feel like that procrastination, that addiction is still there, no matter how old I am, and it's probably gonna get worse, but it's like you want that freedom, but you're still not ready for it.
Well, and so what's interesting about her mentioning when I put on the 2-hour parental controls, because they didn't have controls for a long time because I had very strict rules about them giving their phones, and it was easier to monitor. Once Taylor had gotten into high school, it became a little bit more challenging. So I had asked them both kids, to put down their phones. And if you ignore me, there's a consequence. And so they ignored me 3 times. And so I said, okay. And I found this beautiful thing called parental controls, and it got implemented. And so again, it can be challenging for them and frustrating, and yet it forces them to get off their devices, which they need that enforcement.
Especially at night, too. There's a whole science behind when you use your phone. So many of my friends will just scroll through before they go to bed, which is terrible. It's terrible for your brain. And not only does it cause like sleep deprivation, basically, it takes you more time to fall asleep because there's some kind of blue light within the phone that reacts with your brain, which causes just a slowing down of melatonin or something like that.
On this subject, you know more than me. So,
Well, I might be on the right track, but
but you noticed that you were having trouble sleeping as well.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we look to do is sort of close things down at least a half hour, because this is even homework. When she's on the computer and doing homework, her brain keeps going long after she's lying down. Yes. So our goal is to get everything to shut down like 45 minutes before. That includes shower time.
But also to have, we have this kind of rule where it's you plug your phone in the kitchen, which I haven't been so good about recently, but it's everyone puts their phone in the kitchen at night, and we have like a central charging station, and all the phones are pretty far away from us when we go to bed.
Right. Well, so we're going to take another brief commercial break. Remember, there's still time for questions, so you can call in 203-333-WICC. That's 203-333-9422. When we come back, we are going to talk a little bit more about sort of the impact of technology on the brain. So we'll be right back. For those of you just joining us, this is Own Your Truth with Laura T, and I am here with my special guest, Taylor T, and we're talking about youth and technology. And so now we're going to talk a little bit about the brain and specifically social media. According to Psychology Today, This is a big word. The ventral tegmental area, the VTA, part of the brain, monitors social needs by releasing dopamine when we achieve social success, and it actually inspires neurochemical deficits when we don't. So this is interesting because the VTA doesn't think before it reads signals and responds to it. So it can't distinguish between actual threats. Remember that sort of fight or flight that we're born with that used to save us from being eaten by animals or being hunted by other people. And today, we don't have those types of things. So knowing that it doesn't distinguish actual threats from perceived threats, and social media offers excessive amounts of perceived threats, this is when there becomes an issue, right? So while all of this is happening in our brain, simultaneously, those people who would be typically less confrontational or even cowardice are much more brave on social media because there isn't that direct impact or connection with a person. So they'll say and do things they would never say in a face-to-face encounter. So this only begins to touch on the impact of social media and the brain. And I won't be able to get too much into that because I really want to ask Taylor questions about how she sees this impacting today's youth, especially this idea of social media and kids' access to it. What do you think, Taylor?
Well, yeah, it's that idea that no one actually knows who you are, right? So you can make an account anonymous 123, something like that, and you can go and just say whatever you want, and no one will ever know who you are. And it's also really scary. And the things that you say, you figure, oh, you know, it's just my comment out of 1,000 or 10,000 on Kylie Jenner or whoever. I'm just giving an example. It's like, you know, whatever you say, I'm sure those people scroll through and you might not see all of them, but it's that cowardice too. The idea that like you're not only making yourself more hostile, but you're putting things out there that just isn't good for the world and your energy too.
Yeah, absolutely, a negative energy. So what do you think, especially for kids, has people say, I know we talked a little bit about the brain, but what do you think has kids say things online that they wouldn't normally say? Like, think about in school. If it's not an anonymous account, but it's actually people that you know, what do you think sparks that?
Well, it goes back to bullying too as well, which is like if you've got an older brother who, you know, takes things out on you, you want to take things out on other people too. So when it comes to online or even in real life, there's obviously going to be those people who are mean and, you know, make comments, but social media, it's really accessible to just go on there and say stuff, and you never really know what's actually happening to that bully in a sense, you know, who's being mean to them. I mean, they're not just born, they're kind of made, right? And I'm using that, but it's like, you know, there's probably something happening behind the scenes that you don't really know. So it's that, you know, bad energy altogether that just affects people.
So you're saying that the bully probably has stuff going on in their life.
Probably.
Because I know that oftentimes we talk about the victim of bullying and them having things going on in their life that we may not know, you know, whether I saw a story where a kid's kid's aunt had gotten cancer, so he shaved his head, and some of the other kids made fun of him at school, and the principal had come in and let the kid shave his head so that he could show all the other students that we don't know what's going on in someone's life.
Really cool.
So what's interesting is you're actually talking about something that I think often isn't considered, is what's going on in the bully's life and where is that stemming from.
Yeah.
And so what do you think about how easy it is to judge online versus what you would say to someone in person?
I feel like the whole definition of Instagram and Facebook is judging a book by its cover. And you have your cover, which is your profile picture, and then all your pages, which is just the best of the best, your great photos with the filters and the Photoshop. And it's really easy to judge, especially if, oh, you know, she has a bad outfit on there, or she doesn't look as good as the girl next to her, or, you know, who's that guy, or, you know, just those things that all you see is the picture. You don't see who's taking it, who they're with, what they're doing. You just see the location and, you know, just that little frame. But you really have no idea what they're doing, and you just see you just see a picture, you see a frame of.
And you create your own story, right? So I know that when I'm working with clients, I know that a big issue with social media is comparison and people comparing what they have.
Yes,
and
definitely.
when we think about the Facebook feed, it's so important to remember that this is the life's highlight reel, right? This is your trailer for your life.
Yeah.
And so I know one of the suggestions that I make is that when you're looking at other people's social media feeds, take a minute and stop and go through your own feed or go through the pictures on your own phone. Because when you start to look at your own life in those beautiful snapshots, you get to take a look and go, hey, like my life's pretty great too.
Definitely.
It's pretty awesome. And so that's one of the things that I suggest. What do you suggest to young people as a way to overcome some of the stuff that's happening in social media?
Well, it's difficult because you get so locked in, and you just see all these people with these groups. I have no friends, right? That's the first thing that you think of. No one likes me. I'm ugly. I'm not pretty enough. I don't get to go to parties. I'm not invited to stuff. Everyone hates me. These global ideas that it's really hard, and so you just have to remember. And this happens to all of us, right? I just look around and even look at my texts. Like, this is a friend that I know I can. She's the best, or, I have friends. You just have to remind yourself. And even just looking around, looking at your family. Family's so, so important. Everyone seems to skip over that. But it's like all the family trips, and even if you don't get to do all these things, those people are going to be there for the rest of your life. And, they're the closest people that you have. So don't forget about them. Your pets, I don't know,
Yeah.
There are things.
Pets are
everywhere.
great.
Yes,
it's such beautiful, unconditional love.
There are things everywhere that you can, see and be grateful for.
And so how do you... So you said grateful. Do you want to talk about gratitude?
Well, another thing that we do that as a family is every night we say 3 things that we're grateful for throughout the day. And even if we're having a bad day, Mom makes a lot of gratitude rules, which is you can't be grateful for anything in the future. You can't be grateful for anything that happened yesterday, and you have to be grateful for 3 things.
At
Even
least.
if you have the worst day ever, there are 3. I'm grateful for this dinner. I'm grateful that I have feet. Whatever.
We don't do feet. That's
Another
another
rule.
rule. Just kidding.
But it's that idea that you just find something, the littlest thing. It doesn't even matter. Someone you bumped into on the train. I don't know. The littlest things that you just remind yourself to be grateful of.
How has that benefited you by doing the gratitude at dinner?
Well, even dinner, it makes it so much more fun. I feel like if it's a bad day, we force something silly out of our gratitude, and it's a conversation starter, which we usually have a lot to talk about. But we also get to learn what happened during our family members' days, and was it a bad day? Was it a good day? Should we talk about it? Should we, obviously we should talk about it. But, just seeing what happened throughout the day, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, Taylor, I appreciate you so much. This has been such a great night. Good advice, good information on technology. Any last words you want to wrap up this conversation about youth and technology?
I think the things we talked about, one was when it comes to parental controls, sometimes just give in, guys, just because sometimes it's for the better. Our parents know what they're talking about, and I think it's for the better. And I would try gratitude, or even we have the positive jar, thinking about good things and looking up, looking around you instead of down. I know it's cliche and everyone says it all the time, but there's stuff out there, and just have fun with your friends and your family. And not everything's about what you see on the screen and on the feed, and life is good.
Awesome. Great advice. Thank you for listening to tonight's show on youth and technology. As always, I love to hear your thoughts on tonight's show, so visit the Own Your Truth with Laura T Facebook page and give me some feedback. I want to thank my very special guest and the best daughter in the world for joining me. Thank you for tuning in tonight. I'm off next Sunday, Memorial Day weekend, so enjoy the weekend. Let's pray for good weather. Please keep it up. And, of course, be safe. This is Laura T.
And this is Taylor T.
on Own Your Truth. Hear you soon, and good night.